Hi, everyone. My name is Stacy Minahan. I am from the Schuylkill Technology Center. I'm the Assistant Director at the South Campus. I was supposed to have Gretchen Whitman here with me today, who is our social worker. However, we have some stuff going on at school and she could not be with us, unfortunately. So I will do my best to share her parts as well as mine. So our objectives for today, our participants will be able to understand the impact that stress and secondary traumatic stress have on teachers. We will determine self-care needs. We will provide teacher wellness strategies to implement in your schools. And we hope that you will be able to build a healthy community that supports student achievement. Just a little bit about us before we get started, so you kind of know where we're coming from. We are the Schuylkill Technology Center. We are located in Schuylkill County, which is East Central Pennsylvania. We're about an hour from anything that's good. So Hershey, Harrisburg, Allentown, Wilkes-Barre, all those things are about an hour from us. So we're kind of right smack in the middle. Pottsville we're located close to there. So if anybody's heard of Yuengling Beer, that's where we are from. Most people know where that's at. We have two buildings at STC, which have 21 programs. We have 12 sending districts from across our county. And we are a semester about school, which is different from pretty much everybody else. I think there's only two of us left in the state that are semester about. So we get our students for 90 days at a time, full day. So they're in their shop almost the whole day. If they have social studies, they pull out for an hour, and the only other time they leave shop is for lunch. So that's a little bit different than most people. At any given time, we have approximately 220 students in each of our buildings and each semester. So we're around 800 for the year. And our students are in grades 9 through 12. We have approximately 85 staff members, from administration to our maintenance staff, cafeteria, teachers, everyone included. And our area is highly economically disadvantaged population. So just to start out, I'd like you to complete the thought. So if you could think of 5 adjectives that describe the last year in education. And if you wouldn't mind sharing those in the chat box, we can see what everyone comes up with. Okay. I can't see anything in the chat box. I don't know if you're putting things in there or not. My words would probably be stressful, long. Yep, that's a good one. Overwhelming for sure. Challenging, frustrating, chaotic. Yeah. Okay. Chaos. Yep. Okay, so I was hoping to see those words, not because I want it to be those things, but because it goes along with, what we're talking about here. So things are difficult, right? The last year and a half have been stressful. They've been difficult. They've been hard to deal with. I'm sure everybody's had moments where they just wanted to throw in the towel and be like, I can't do this anymore. At least I know that's what I'm seeing from a lot of my faculty and staff. So we're going to talk about some of those things today and try to help with ways that people can, try to overcome those things and have a better time at school and in their own home life. So thank you for doing that. I lost my notes. So I determined a list, and this is definitely not comprehensive by any means, but looking at educator stress prior to COVID and then additional stressors that happen during COVID and, now. So on any given day, on any given year, teachers have their typical stresses, and some people have more stress than others, depending on your position and what your class is like and those kind of things. But normal things are standardized testing. You want your students to do well. A lot of student or places have larger class sizes now, due to funding and different issues that are happening in education. Accountability, teachers are always concerned, are they doing their part? Are their kids getting what they need? And is my score going to be good? Am I going to be proficient or advanced? You have the regular things, time. I've never heard a teacher tell me that they've had enough time ever, no matter where I've been. You have changes, there's constant changes in education all the time, and doing new things and trying to make sure you're doing what you have to do to please your school board or your principal or any of those kind of things. So typically those are things that educators have. But now that COVID is here and we've been having more issues, right? The list on the right is kind of additional stresses. And, some of these things or a lot of these things were happening before, but I think they're more relevant now in today's educational world. So COVID protocols. I mean, I am a principal of a school, and I spend at least half of my day talking about COVID, right? It's kids aren't wearing masks. They're not social distancing. They're taking the plexiglass down in the cafeteria. We have to quarantine kids and what's happening, and do kids have vaccines? Can they be in school? Can they not be in school? So most of my day consists of putting out COVID fires. So that's a thing that we never had before, right? It's additional stress. So last year or 3 years ago, I never had to deal with those things, but now they're very relevant in my life. The education loss and the learning gap is really, really important, right? So we're trying to determine what that education loss is, what that learning gap is, where are we? We're starting to see where we are, but do we really know how much of a learning gap there is? I know for CTE teachers specifically and our teachers, we're half a year about, like I said, so at any given time, our students have 4 levels of kids at one time. But now their concern is they have maybe 8 levels of kids, or they have 12 levels of kids. So they have kids that are level 2s, but they have kids that are now level 2.5s, and they have kids that are level 2 3/4. So depending on when we went home, depending on how much of the semester they got, or, those kind of things, depends on what level those kids are at. So we might have had kids that went home in March and didn't come back for the rest of the year. They were online, which we all know CTE is not great at online learning, right? Because it's hands-on and we need to be in the classroom. So these kids lost a lot of the things that year that they needed. So for some of our kids, they came back then in the fall when things still were kind of really rough. And we had a lot of quarantines and we had a lot of time out of the classroom for certain classes. So if you had a student that came those 2 semesters, then they really lost out on 2 of their semesters, a lot of their time in class. So you may have a kid then coming back now this year that's a 3rd level that only has a quarter of what they really should have due to all of those things. So trying to manage that learning gap is really difficult at this point for teachers to make sure kids, are prepared for NOCTI, and are they going to be able to go out and get a job at the end of this, and all those kind of things. So that's been something that's relevant, I think, for all of our teachers, pretty much on a daily basis, trying to get those kids caught up. We still have teachers doing virtual instruction through Google Classroom. So they're teaching their lessons, but they're also trying to upload things on Google for students that are still quarantined. In case we have to shut down for whatever reason, we're trying to do both just to be safe. So that's additional time that teachers don't really have, that they need to try to figure out when they're going to do those things. But it's essential for us to make sure our kids are getting what they need. Equity has been a big topic, obviously, for many different reasons, but for us, I told you before, we were economically disadvantaged. So a lot of our kids don't have the internet, or they live out in the middle of a field somewhere where they don't have internet access. So, we get them Wi-Fi's, we get them laptops, but are they still able to even get on? So those kids are disadvantaged as well. We've been seeing a lot of student disengagement, and I think I can see it in my own kids. They were home for so long and they're used to being online, and they don't really want to be back in school. They like their lifestyle. A lot of our kids specifically were working during the pandemic because they're CTE kids. So they were used to getting up, working all day, coming home and doing an hour's worth of homework and then, calling it a day. So we have kids that are skipping school to work still because their employers need them and that's what they want to be doing. So, trying to get those kids back to being engaged has been difficult. Excessive absenteeism. This is sometimes because of that disengagement, but also because of COVID, right? I have a student this semester that is really typically a great student, likes to come to school, does really well. He's been quarantined 4 times just because he's been in the wrong place at the wrong time. So he's at home trying to do his best, but he's missing all that hands-on stuff. So we have a lot of those things. So then if you're a level 1.5 and you should be a level 2 or 3, then, that extra absenteeism continues to put you behind and you still can't get caught up. A lot of the other things we're seeing with teachers and kids are anxiety. Social emotional learning is always a struggle, I think, across the board for everybody. But now we're seeing it much more. So a lot of kids, especially the kids that don't like to be social, were happy at home. They didn't want to be back. So they're having a hard time rebuilding that structure and those relationships with students. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of loss this semester of students. We had some death due to accidents. We had a few suicides, and those suicides are mostly because of relationships. So the kids are dating somebody, they break up, and then they feel like they have nothing or they don't want to live anymore. So then they end up completing suicide, which is obviously very sad and traumatic for everybody involved. So that social emotional learning piece, we have to somehow figure out how to get these kids back to, this is what appropriate relationships are, and this is how you handle things. And mental health has been, it's been a big thing with us. A lot of our kids are having mental health issues along with all these other things. We've been calling crisis a lot for kids. It's a lot of kids that we've never seen before, so they're just not handling it well. And our teachers are emotionally exhausted, right? They're just overwhelmed. They have so much to do, and they need to find a way to to cope with those things. So it leads to depression and sometimes staff shortages, and those things are out there. And one of the other things that for CTE specifically is workforce demand. So we all know that everybody is looking for people. There's so many jobs available, and as our role, we're training the next generation of the workforce, and people keep calling us every day asking us for employees. But due to all these other things, we have a hard time getting kids out because they're not ready yet. They miss so much time. They're trying to catch up. So we're trying to get our kids out there to help the workforce because that's what our role is. But we can't do that to help them. So we want to help. We have our OAC members asking us, but it's just not working out all the time. So that adds some additional stress as well. So like I said, it's not really a comprehensive list. I think it's pretty decent, detailed list that we have there to kind of think about our next topic. So those are everyday stressors. The next thing that we want to look at is secondary traumatic stress, which is relevant for teachers a lot of times. So what is secondary traumatic stress? It's the emotional duress that results when individuals hear about the firsthand traumatic experiences of another person. So it's also known as compassion fatigue. So as teachers, most of us are empathetic, and we want to know about our students, and we want to build positive relationships in our classroom. And sometimes we're the only people in our students' lives that do that, right? They might not have good home lives. They might not have a lot of friends. Like I just said, they're not understanding the relationship dynamic, especially now. So we become the people that they trust, and we become the people that they talk to. So for a lot of teachers, they're also on top of all those other things, they're also getting their student stress. They're hearing about it, and then they're internalizing that as part of their own stress. And a lot of times this is your best teachers, right? So your teachers who are already stressing themselves out because they want to do their best and they want to get things done and make sure their students are okay. And then because they're these people that students like, they're adding this additional stress. So we have a lot of this on top of what we have. So going back to that list that we were just talking about, so some of the things that can be considered the secondary stress are some of the things that I highlighted in red here. So on top of their own stress, their own anxiety, their own social emotional issues, their own mental health, their own exhaustion, they're also dealing with the student's version of that. So student trauma helps or adds to that. We have a lot of kids that are homeless. Parents are passing away from COVID and students are kind of left on their own. Parents are losing jobs, they're losing their houses, they're losing all kinds of things in their life. So we have a lot more of that happening. So the teachers know that and they're concerned about it. So that's adding to their stress. They want to help them out. They want to make sure that they get the clothes that they need, or they're able to stay in a hotel room or whatever it is that they need. Like I said, when we had all those suicides and deaths happen, I mean, we had 6 kids in a week and a half. Unfortunately, it was very sad. But just the impact of that was, it was astronomical. I mean, at the whole building, the whole organization kind of almost shut down because people were just in shock and, didn't know what to do. And the kids are a mess and they don't know how to handle it. So just getting through those moments, can be very, very difficult, and that adds a lot to your plate. So you have your own stresses, and then on top of that, you're holding on to some of those things that students have. And everybody, like I said, has a different level of stress. So some people are still dealing more with the regular stressors and don't have as many of these things, but there are teachers out there that are, piling these things on, and it could be worse for them on a daily basis. So what are some signs of compassion fatigue symptoms, or what are some symptoms? A lot of times people are increased irritability. I'm seeing that in some of my best teachers that are usually happy, and they're my go-getters, and they're the ones that want to help out and do all the fun things and be involved. But they're kind of backing off and they just don't want to do extra things. And the kids see that as well. So when you're usually planning really good lessons and you're up and you're at the smartboard and you're doing all kinds of fun things with them, and then all of a sudden you're back to, let's do it online, let's do some worksheets, I have to grade tests, you're maybe giving them a little bit of attitude, the kids are feeling that as well. And then we're asking them to do the same kind of things, but they're feeling it from their teachers, so they kind of take the same role, I guess. Impatience with faculty, students, and staff. They have decreased concentration sometimes. They are sometimes feeling numb or detached. Sometimes they try to detach, right? So, I mean, I know even myself at times, I don't want to be there anymore. Like, I need a break. I got to go. I want to take a day off, even though I know I can't. So there's a lot of that. And then you kind of get to, all right, well, now I'm giving other people issues. So we have to take care of ourselves first, I think is something that everybody needs to know, for sure. So we can't do, like somebody said there, teachers are the backbone. They need to be able to go about their day and do the things that they love to do and want to do. Because if not, it kind of brings everybody down. So if you're having intrusive thoughts about the student's trauma or dreams about students, those kind of things about their traumas, this is starting to get to a level that's needs help, right? So like I said, everybody does these things at different levels, but if you're getting to that point where you're feeling these things and you just can't shake it or let it go, or it's just getting to be too much, we would suggest that, you do go see a professional. You do try to seek out counseling. We were going to have our social worker, Miss Whitman, talk about that because that's her role and that's what she does. But she's great. Our guidance counselor is great at even just listening. So even though they're having their own stressors, they can, help our teachers get through some of the things they need to do. And if they think it's more important or they need different things, to help them out, then they would, they would try to, just like our SAP kids, right? We try to get them help as well. We try to get them set up with somebody that we know in the community. So we want to make sure that our teachers aren't getting to that point. I mean, I never want any of my teachers to feel that they need to go to counseling or to take days off because they're super stressed out. So we want to try to avoid that and get them the help they need. So just feeling overwhelmed, feeling incompetent. I think incompetence is interesting because, especially if you're somebody that's very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like you have to you're a perfectionist, right? You have to do things great all the time. And you're starting to feel these things that you never really felt before. That feeling of incompetence, like I can't help this. I can't help other people. I can't help myself. I don't know where to go. That feeling of kind of loss, I think is really stressful for those kind of people. So, having conversations, I'm not sure how many administrators we have on here or even student services people, or even teachers. I mean, ask other people how they feel. If you see them kind of shying away or being in their classroom and not coming out for lunch and those kind of things, check on them and make sure they're okay, because a lot of times we need people to help us through this stuff. So those are some of our symptoms. Let's see what's next. So I pulled this off of the internet. So it's called the Secondary Traumatic Stress Scale. I'm not sure if any of you ever heard of it. But if you would like to check your stress level, then this is a scale to help you do that. So I put the link on here because it's hard to find a scale with the rubric on it, the scoring rubric. So that one has it. So when you get the PowerPoint, you can check that out. And what you do is you think about the last 7 days and how you feel for each of these statements. So just the first one, I felt emotionally numb. So the answers are never, rarely, occasionally, often, or very often. So over the last 7 days, how are you feeling? So you'd write your score in there for each of the 17 of them. And then you add them up at the end. There's 3 different sections that you add up, and then it will tell you a number. You'll get a number, and then the number correlates to your stress level. So your secondary stress level, I guess. So it could be little to none, or it would be maybe a lot, you might be severely stressed out. So it'll tell you kind of where you are. So I think this is a good activity to maybe do with your staff. I gave it to my staff to do on their own, kind of just to measure. At the beginning of the year, we had one of our first in-service days, we had a faculty meeting and everybody was cranky and everybody was miserable. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. I mean, we're coming back. It's a new year. We're trying to, do better and move on past all the chaos that happened last year. So we were hoping for it to be better and it just wasn't. So what I did was I had them fill out a sheet of paper that, what are the things I'm upset about? What are the things that I'm looking forward to? All different kind of things, just so I knew where they were and why this was happening. And I think a big part of it was because we were not going to have to wear masks unless we went to red, and we went to red the second day of in-service. So I think that just kind of threw people over the edge, and they're like, okay, here we go. But I gave them this because I wanted them to check in on themselves, and it's not necessarily something your administrator needs to know. If you want to know, I mean, you certainly could ask them for these results, and they can do it anonymously. And then you'd have a kind of an idea of where they're at. But I gave it to them just to try on their own and to have throughout the year when they feel like they're stressing out, so they could do that. So I think that's a really good tool that people can use either individually or as groups. So like I said, you want to try to use this link because it had the rubric on it as well. but you can find that anywhere. So we all know everybody's stressing out, or at least most of us are. So there's 6 different kinds of self-care available or out there. So 6 different areas. So we have emotional self-care, which is awareness of your feelings, or promoting positive emotions in yourself. So, you know, trying to think about all the positives in your day. A lot of times we focus on the negative because they're the things that are kind of driving us crazy, or that we're worried about, or that are just there that won't go away. But, you know, take a minute every day to think about, you know, what went well, which kids are doing well, you know, who seems to be striving, who's ready for co-op, you know, what kind of things did we do this week that are helping other people. Okay. Even, you know, at home, you know, I had a good weekend with my kids. So let's, you know, focus on that and focus on them and those kind of things. Physical is obviously things that are healthy and comforting for your body. So if you're anything like me, you thrive on ice cream and chocolate, which is not good for your body. However, you know, you could eat healthy, you know, make it even if it's 2 days a week, if you're somebody that, you know, is like me, just make it I try to make it a habit to eat salad or something better for me at lunchtime from Win Culinary, like 3 days a week or 2 days a week. So try to make sure you're physically thinking about those things. Our secretary started going for walks at lunch every day, and she drags us with her. So even if we don't want to, we just go and get out of the building for 5 minutes and get some fresh air, and just go for a walk and get your blood moving, and try to, you know, just let it go for 5 minutes. Psychological is addressing your anxiety and your depression. One of the main things about that is you have to agree or realize that you are having anxiety, you are depressed. You have to physically confront that, because if you don't, it just keeps building up until the point where, you know, you're maybe sobbing in your classroom and you don't know why. I'm one of those people. When I get really upset or stressed out, then I just call it, like, you know, uncontrollable crying. Like, it just happens. And there's no reason for it. It just is one of those things that happens to me. So, but if you're not addressing it and if you're not confronting it, then, you know, it just keeps building up. So take some time, you know, do that quiz that I just had, see where you're at, and physically say, okay, where am I? You know, what do I need to deal with? Do I need to go talk to our social worker to see if she can help me, or just to, you know, sometimes just talking to somebody, even, you know, if you go out with the coworker to the bar for an hour for happy hour, you know, and just talk about what's going on, you know, it lets you get it out. And so you can kind of put it off and move on a little bit. Relationships are important, whether at home, at work, supportive relationships. I said with the kids, you know, kids don't understand relationships, I don't think, today. It's interesting. They're online all the time. They think if they have, you know, 10,000 friends that they're popular, but then they have no good friends that they hang out with, and it's stressful. And I see that in my own kids. You know, my one kid Snapchats pictures of the couch all day long, and I'm like, this is dumb. Why are you doing this? But they think that's cool. You know, I got 100 snaps back in a half hour. But you know, that's not a relationship. That's just things that they do. So, you know, trying to make sure that your kids are having those relationships and you're building those relationships as well. Especially, you know, your newer teachers, you want to make sure that they have somebody in the building that they can rely on and that supports them and that helps them. That's really important to try to make sure your staff is getting along. They don't always get along, and that's fine. They don't all have to love each other, but they do have to be civil, and they do have to, you know, work together to get things done. So trying to promote those relationships, I think, for administrators and different people in the building is really important. Spiritual is the 5th one. So drawing on things greater than yourself, whether it's your community, your environment, your religion, those kind of things are important. And then professional, and this one I think is important for me too, finding a good work-life balance. So I am absolutely 100% terrible at this. My job is my life, I say all the time. I work multiple hours after work. Sometimes I stay at work until they throw me out at 9 o'clock if I have to. Usually I've started leaving because I have to pick my kid up. I made it a thing that I have to pick my kid up at football practice at 5:30 every day. So that forces me to leave school at 5 o'clock because I'll stay till 7, I'll stay till 8 o'clock. And even though I'm leaving the building, sometimes I go home and I, work and I check my email or work until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Right. So even when I'm not there, I'm consumed by it a lot. And I need to get better at that. Even, on days off, you're checking your email, you're focused on what do I need to do, all those kind of things. So trying to find that balance and letting things at work, I think is really important now. And I can tell you that because I'm very bad at it. And it's something that I need to definitely work on for sure. So some of the self-care strategies, I was going to have you take a minute to, I guess I can go back, think about these different types of self-care and what you do. So if you just want to take 30 seconds in the chat and put some of the things that help you to relax, or some of the self-care ways that you go about, helping yourself. If you want to put those in the chat so we can see what people are doing. Just take 10, 15 seconds, add some in there. Yoga. Yeah, I'm going to talk about yoga. That's a good one. Spending time with people who love me, going for a walk or a run, listening to music. Taking a nap. Oh yeah, I could use a nap most days. Hobbies, breathing, mindfulness, reading. Okay, good. So I'm happy that everybody has something that they're looking at. Setting an alarm to remind yourself to turn your email off. Oh, I'm going to try that. I need that in my life, definitely. Wait until school hours to respond to messages. Good. Okay. So some of the things I came up with, just based on that list that we had and the 6 strategies, one of the main things is to keep your perspective. How much of this is really important right now? How much of this is mine to own, right? So especially like I was talking about that secondary traumatic stress, what should we own? What should we let go? Especially in my position and some of the other student services positions, we get all the kids with issues, right? Because they come to us one way or another, whether they want to see us, whether it's through the SAB program, whether it's, discipline or whatever. We get so many of those kids and we see them a lot. So you can't carry everybody's baggage with you. We have to learn to kind of let that go. Like how far in do I need to be and where do I need to be? But I can tell you it's really, really difficult when you have a student who's contemplating suicide and you send them to crisis and they take them to the emergency room on a Friday. You don't know what's happening and you're worried about that kid all weekend. And where are they? Did they make it? Did they place them? Did they not place them? Are they at home? Are they with their parents? Are they feeling okay? Like these are the things that just, can overwhelm us at times. And if you have multiple kids that are in that, having those issues, then it becomes really, really overwhelming. So trying to keep perspective. I think being present is really important, being present in this moment. So if I'm at home at my kid's football game, let's stay to the football game. Let's, somebody's taking care of that other student, hopefully, right? Hopefully we talk to their parents, we talk to crisis. We're hoping that there's somebody else out there that can kind of fill in for us while we're not there. So that perspective piece, I think, is really important. And I know I need to try to do a better job of doing that myself. But same things that other people said, engaging in fun activities. One of them that I thought was interesting was intentionally cry or intentionally laugh, right? So if you're gonna, you're like me and you have that issue where you just start crying when you're overwhelmed and you just can't take anything else, do that on purpose, get it out, what's there, you want to acknowledge it and kind of move on. Or, meet up with one of your really funny friends and go out and hang out for an hour and just laugh on purpose, right? Try to change your tone, try to change your mood, try to, be a little bit less stressed out. Leaving work at work, keeping a journal. And I am guilty of this for sure, but take a day off. So I always feel guilty taking time off of work because I feel like I need to be there. But I have come to the point where I just feel like some days you need it, right? They call them mental health days for a reason. And I think not enough teachers, especially because it takes, it's like 3 days worth of work to take one day off. But sometimes you just need that Friday, just stay in bed, do whatever you got to do, get up, drink your coffee, mill around a little bit and do something for you. So don't be afraid to take that day off because really it could be helpful. I actually sent a teacher home on Friday, half a day, because he was just super struggling and I could just see it. And I knew he wasn't himself. And I said, go home, I'll cover your class, come back on Monday and, rejuvenate and we'll start over. So, as an administrator, sometimes that's something maybe you want to do with your staff. If you can do it. I know we're short staffed and we don't have a lot of people, but making sure your faculty is okay is so important to getting anything done. If they're not, then you're not getting anything done anyway. So sometimes it's better. Okay. So along those lines, we want to know, so these are things that the things we've been talking about are things you can do individually, right? But how do we help our educators? So we're here to figure out how do we make our schools better? And I'm going to talk about my point of view and as an administrator role, but I think anybody can really do some of these things. So some of my thoughts are that when you're helping your educators, need to be intentional. Okay, make sure that you're doing things for a reason, and make sure you're doing things specific to what the problem is. So like I said, my teacher on Friday, I know he was stressed out. He was, him and a kid were going at it a little bit just because she had headphones on. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, you'd never send a kid to my office because of that. So I sent him home because it was intentional, right? I needed him to just go home and relax and put it behind him and to try to come back in a better mind space on Monday. So look for opportunities in your existing schedule. And one of the things I really want to stress is that, and I think I've been saying this, is that this is super important, right? If your teachers are not feeling okay, if your teachers are not, doing their best, if they feel like they can't do things that they want to do, then everything's breaking down anyway, right? Things aren't getting done. So I know teachers have like not a lot of time, and they're stressed out about catching kids up, but sometimes you have to take that time and do something to help them. And they might complain about it. We don't have time for this, but every time I've done something with my teachers, they've always said, we needed that. Okay, so they'll push it and they'll say we don't have time, but really it's necessary to be able to move on. But look for opportunities that exist. So, if there's a day coming up, I know World Kindness Day is coming up next Friday. So we're doing, we're getting donuts for everybody, all of our kids and our staff. So we're going with kind of like the circle of trust idea, donuts are a circle, they're round, whatever. And everybody kind of can, everything kind of comes full circle, that kind of idea. So, just doing something like that because there's a day coming up, it helps out, right? If you have professional development, in-service days coming up, build something into your in-service schedule. So we don't always have to do extra things. We can just build it into what we have. Think outside the box. Doing the same redundant things all the time isn't always fun. So what can we do that's different? Our guidance counselor was the one that came up with the donut idea, the circular kind of thing. So, that's not something that I would ever think about. We usually do pretzels or something else, but I was like, all right, it makes sense. So just think outside, what else can we do? Be sincere. If people don't believe you, then they don't care, right? So if I'm saying, hey, we're going to do this activity today, and it's just kind of being pushed on them and they don't think I actually care about them, then it's not going to have the same effect. My teachers, I hope know that I care about them and I sincerely want them to be healthy and happy and do well at their job and have good lives outside of school. So if they know that, then, it means something more, right? I said, be aware about the time, make it about them. So it's not about me. It's not about doing a presentation at ILC. It's about, them. It's about they need help. They're struggling. What do they need to do? What can I do to help them? If it's not about them, again, it's pointless, right? And I'm an administrator, so it's easy for me to talk about these things, but make sure you have administrator buy-in. Some of these things you can do on your own without administrators. You can buy donuts for your staff or your friends or whoever, your students at school, for Kindness Day because you want to. But if you're going to do some of these bigger things and these other ideas, then you want to make sure that your administrator is buying into it as well. So I'm going to go over some of the things that we did now. That was a little bit of background, on why we need to do this and how we can do these things. So we have been a part of the National School Climate Centers initiative for the last 6 years. So we've been trying to increase our school climate and we've been working with them, which has been really helpful. A lot of these things kind of popped up because of that, because I make it a goal to make our school a better place for our kids and our staff. So it's literally the number one thing I worry about. It's my stressor, is making sure that everything is better and people feel safe here. So these are some of the things that we did to increase our school climate and to reduce stress. So last year, one of the things we did was staff spotlights. So I could not determine a way to tell my teachers thank you enough, right? Like I kept saying, like, I want them to know, I need them to know that I care about them and I appreciate them and that, they deserve recognition. And I just trying to come up with different things. So sometimes I give my teachers, I'll give them gift cards for Dunkin' Donuts, just because. I'll buy them lunch just because, like, I do things like that anyway, just because I want them to know they care. But I went back to that meaningfulness, we have to make it meaningful. Some of my teachers don't like gift cards, which is great. And then they, share them with their students or whatever they do with them. But I wanted them to know, like, I really, really care about what you're doing. So one of the things that I came up with was staff spotlights. So the sheet here on your right is what we gave them. So we asked them, how long you worked here, what are your favorite memories, describe yourself. So we wanted to really get to know them. And we wanted other people to get to know them. So what I did was I took those staff spotlight sheets, and feel free to use it if you want. I can send it to you. If you send me an email, I can share the Word document with you. But what I did was I took those and I wrote up a paragraph about every teacher. And what we did with it was we had, so Mrs. Minahan Day. So every teacher got a day of the year that was dedicated specifically to them. We did one teacher in each building every day. And it took us, we did it the last marking period when everybody was ready to go home and be done and whatever. So they all had their day. So we did an announcement on their day, which, was the paragraph that I came up with based on what they wrote on this form. So kids can, it's really cool. Like the kids in computers were so excited when it was Miss Worthy Day because they wanted to know all about her. So it got kids and teachers to ask questions about them and to really pay attention to them for a day. So we did the announcement in the morning and then we put the post on Facebook with their picture. Some of the teachers didn't want to be on Facebook, which was fine. And we just didn't do that if they asked us not to, but the majority of them were okay. I think there were only one or two that didn't want that. We had an end of the year countdown and I have pictures of all these things that I'll show you from day 1 to 45. And at the end of the day, they got to rip their day off the wall because it was kind of like, oh, thank God another one's over, right? We're getting there. So that was interesting. Teachers could dress up or dress down if they wanted to, whatever they wanted to wear. It was their day. They could do whatever. I called Burger King and asked them if they had crowns because I couldn't find enough of them. And fortunately, they had a whole box that they were getting rid of because they don't give out crowns anymore. So if you want to do that, you could go ahead and call up your local Burger King. Maybe they'll give you theirs. So they gave me 2 boxes of crowns and we made little STC stickers and put them over the Burger King symbols. And on your day, I crowned you and, congratulate you and made a big deal out of you in front of your class. And teachers really were excited. And then the major thing that I stressed, I sent out an email about this initiative before it started. And the major thing I stressed was that I wanted everybody to intentionally celebrate the faculty member on their day. So if it was your day, I wanted people to come up to you and to make a big deal out of you and to, congratulate you on your day and just make sure that you were loved and, people were noticing you. And fortunately, our staff did that. So that was really cool. So those were the major details of the staff spotlights. I'll show you some of our spotlights. So this is what we did. These were our Facebook posts. I just have 3 of them on here. So you can see the right up there is what I wrote up based on their worksheet and what they gave us. So they, our marketing kids just took those and they put them on Facebook and they put them out there. So I just pulled these right off the internet. My Miss Whitman, who was supposed to be with me today, wrote up mine based on my thing too. So I didn't get to write my own, which was good. But again, you know, I don't know, I'm just seeing the word students in the chat box here. I don't know what it says, but you could do this for your students too, right? You could easily have, you know, a student of the day in your class, which would be awesome. So if that's something that you want to do, you know, and there's kids out there that feel like they never get recognized or never get noticed. And I think our teachers are too, that's why I did it. But it would easily be, you know, transferable to your students. So maybe that's something that you want to think about doing for them. You don't necessarily have to do the Facebook post if you don't want to, but you can always do an announcement class. You can do, you know, Burger King crowns, or you can get some on Amazon or whatever, but make it your own, do your thing. But that's what ours look like, and everybody's look different. So our marketing kids did an awesome job with that. Our staff spotlight. So I said that people could dress up however they wanted to. So some people just dress normal, like Mr. Kinsel here in the middle. He's our carpentry teacher. He's not a guy that really likes to participate in all of my stuff. And he's not somebody that, you know, goes above and beyond to be super excited. You know, he's great at what he does. He loves his job, but he's, you know, some of these guys are, you know, from welders, they're welders and carpenters, and they're not really into this celebration kind of stuff. But he wore the crown. We had a good time. I went down, I made a big fuss out of him, and he was good. Some of the other ones, this is Mrs. Murphy over here. She's an instructional aide. I think she's 76-ish, 77, somewhere around there. She's been with us forever and a day. And we love her, and she's fantastic, and the kids love her. So she's usually in plumbing and welding. So she dressed up in her husband's carpentry outfit that day. And she was just loving life and had so much fun. Kathy Dalton is our secretary over here on the other side, and that's our co-op coordinator, TJ. We had a fire drill, and because it was her day, he carried her out to the fire drill so she'd be safe. But she wanted to wear her Betty's and her robe and her crown, and she just loved it up. And I wore my prom dress, basically. So we had a 50th gala. And I always like to sparkle. So I wore my sparkles and my crown and my tiara, and I rocked it all day. And it was actually our fun day that day, which I'm going to talk about. And I ran a 50-yard dash in that thing, and it was crazy, and everybody cheered, and it was awesome. But, you know, it was just fun. So everybody's personalities kind of came out that day, and you could get to see them as a person, which was really, really an awesome part of it. So I wasn't sure people would do that, but they did. So it was exciting. So I told you that we had the countdown on the wall. So we just printed out numbers and we stuck them on the wall in the main office. And then every day when it was somebody's day, when it was Miss Murphy's day, she'd rip her 45 off the wall. You know, Kathy ripped her 44 off the wall at the end of the day. So it was kind of just saying, all right, we're getting there. You know, the end is in sight. We can see what's going on. You know, we can see the end. So that was a picture of me ripping my whatever 13 off the wall that day. I did rip the last one down, and I only had a video of it, or I would have showed you that too. But everybody was there when we ripped the one down, the whole staff, everyone cheered loudly. It was fun. And then we the shredder was right here next to us. So we shred the number one, just to kind of make it like a symbolic, this year's over, thank God, let's move on. So it was really fun. Teachers really enjoyed it. So some of the other things I said, you know, finding time and adding it into something else, the professional development days are ways you can do that. So we had a training for our faculty and staff through SREB. So we were signed up with them to work with our teachers through the SAP or through the TAP program last year. Val Dickerson came and she was with us, I think, I don't know, 6 times or 10 times or something last year throughout the year. And we did all kinds of different professional development on OACs and, 339 and just learning guides and all kind of stuff, curriculum and all those things. But the last one, I knew my teachers were just struggling to get to the end. So what we did was she did a training for us on stress relief and self-care and mental health for our teachers. So this picture over here is of our instructional aides, some of our instructional aides, working together as a team to build a tower. Oh man, sorry, I must have hit it. So that was one of the days in professional developments we just added in at the end because we knew they needed it. We just had an in-service day a couple weeks ago and we did yoga. So we hired one of our friends that is a yogi to come in and work with our staff and do yoga for an hour at the end of the in-service day. So a lot of these things too, we do without funding, right? So we just try to work them into whatever we have going on. Sometimes our teachers will pay for things. I'll pay for things out of my pocket, which I don't recommend doing. But for yoga, it was a couple bucks. We took it out of our student, we have a fund that we have from dress down days and those kind of things that we use for student services. So we were able to do that. And that was probably the best day of work I had like all year. So I just felt relaxed. I needed it so bad. I was rejuvenated. I was ready to go. And a lot of our staff that participated said the same thing. So that was good. Last year on one of our in-service days, we did a scavenger hunt. So our director came up with like funny narratives about our teachers and they had to use those to find the classroom. And then in the classroom, we had like games that they could play. So some of them were kind of like, drinking games, like, water pong. And we had some, what else did they do? They did, I can't even think, mini golf, like they golfed into a cup or something, like different things like that. So we just took things from around our houses and that our kids had and made them into games and we had our groups break up with their friends, people that they liked. So it was kind of like a stress-free day. We did that for, half of the day. But that was just something to get teachers, to relax a little bit, to hang out. Obviously we did not have drinking activities with them, but they're pretty good games. So we use them. And then that same day we did the scavenger hunt. One of the stops was to get a plate and we gave everybody a breakable plate and a marker. And what they did was we told them to write down anything that they wanted at all that was stressing them out or making them mad or, that they just wanted to get rid of. And they wrote it on the plate. And then at the end of the time, we let everybody smash their plates. So one at a time, everybody went around and they smashed their plates in a big circle in our breezeway. We did clean it up. The administrators did that. We didn't make our maintenance people do that. They'd be very upset with us. We gave them their own plate so they could, say that they hate this activity and smash it or whatever they wanted to do. But so, we made sure that we tried to get rid of some of that stress and that was a good way to do it. And they liked it and it was fun and everybody was laughing and carrying on and giggling. So we didn't look at what their stresses were. We let them do that totally on their own, but it just kind of helped to relieve some of the stuff. So we told them they could write anything about school, at home, anything at all. If, they hate this activity, they could write that on there too. So it worked out really well. It was a fun day and it didn't really cost us a whole lot. I think we got the breakable plates on Amazon for like nothing. So just make sure they're going to shatter if you're going to do that because you don't want them not to break. I'm not sure where we are with time, but okay. All right. So another thing that we did was a weight loss competition. So everybody was crabby about, gaining weight and, putting on weight over COVID and those kind of things. So last year we did a weight loss competition. We started in January and we ended the Friday before Memorial Day. So it was the whole second semester pretty much. Everybody put in $20 for the competition. And then there were two awards, the percentage of weight lost and the most pounds lost. So, depending on body types and all those kind of things, people can lose a little bit of weight and have a bigger percentage or a lot. So we did both of those to make it fair. So this guy over here on the left is Fred. He's our machine trades teacher. And every time we do something, he wins. And it's so frustrating and it's like really obnoxious. and he wins all the time. And he's kind of, you can see in that picture, like a little cocky about it. You know what I mean? Like he just thinks he's great because he wins all the time, and we love him and he's fun, but it gets frustrating after a while. One time I lost, I think 30 or 35 pounds, and he still beat me, and it was so annoying. So our secretary, the 1 week he didn't do great. One time only, he did not do well. And we ate it up, man. We made these stickers that said, "I beat Fred." And anybody that lost more weight than him that week got a sticker. I wore 2 just because I, really wanted to rub it in. But it was just a fun little thing that, everybody was like feeling good about themselves that day. Fred didn't feel bad about himself because he knew the next week he'd destroy all of us anyway. So, and he did. And he ended up winning because he always does. But, just for that 1 minute in time, we were excited because we beat him. So I lost 2 pounds that week to get that sticker. And I totally deserved it. So, but it was just something fun, that's relevant to our staff that, could make people just a little bit happy for the day. And then these 2 pictures in the middle, when we were doing our weight loss stuff, and this is Mr. Flynn, he's our criminal justice instructor, and this is me. So we would, on Fridays, our criminal justice kids do their physical tasks. So they do sit-ups and push-ups, and then they run, I guess it's 1.5 miles. So Mr. Flynn and I were competing with them. We would go out and I would run the 1.5 miles with them. We'd do push-ups, we do sit-ups. We got a couple other teachers to come out. Our school nurse was coming out with us. We had a substitute come out with us. So, it's fun for the kids. They get to see us participating with them. We get to know them better. And plus it's, it's time during school. I was calling it workout at work, right? So I was doing my 1.5 miles at work, which was awesome because I didn't have to do it at home. So, so it's just some ideas of things that you can do to try to bring your staff together and to make them healthier and feel better. Keep losing my mouse. So the other thing that we do, and we just did this, I think it was 2 Fridays ago, last Friday, we did a field day. So this is one of those things I was talking about that your teachers probably will say, we don't have time for that. We have a lot of things that we need to do. So this is kind of a waste of our time. However, no one at the end of it has ever said it was a waste of time or they didn't have fun. So we do something called pumpkin chunking, where all of our shops we get the little pumpkins and they throw them on our soccer field. You can see it behind me in the picture where I'm holding the kickball there. So we have a field behind our school and we take all the kids out, and 1 kid from each shop gets to throw the pumpkin, and then the shop that throws it the furthest wins a pizza party or whatever, cupcakes or whatever they want. But it just is a fun activity. And then the teachers do it as well. And then the teacher that wins and the student that wins their bracket face off. And then, whoever wins has bragging rights. So that's a fun activity that we do that doesn't take a whole lot of time. And the kids really like it. But we did our field day, we did pumpkin chucking, and I think we do egg toss at Easter time as well. I didn't put that on here. So we did the kickball tournament. We just break our teams down. I will tell you that I've never had a kickball tournament without students coming to me telling me that their teachers cheated and somebody wasn't out or whatever. So it does cause drama, but it's fun and everybody likes it. While we are doing kickball tournament, we have the field on the other side. We put like a rope out. The kids do tug of war, 50-yard dash. One year we did a water balloon fight with the kids, which was super fun. That was the first year we did this. And, people just had a good time. We had a teacher dunk tank. We had window painting for our artistic kids. We do a picnic lunch, or sometimes our culinary kids make like hamburgers and hot dogs on the grill. This time we had apple crisp and ice cream because it was the fall. So, but it's just a day that we make sure we put in to each semester because it gives everybody, a little stress relief. It's a fun day. People come together, the kids have a good time, the teachers have a good time, and the teachers and the kids really get to get along, on a different level that day. So like I said, there's always drama and controversy over, who was out or who wasn't out, that kind of thing. But again, they're talking in a different way. It's not just me talking to you. It's, hey, hear our opinion kind of thing. So that's always a fun thing that we do as well. And we do a teacher appreciation breakfast as well. So we use our culinary classroom to cook breakfast for our entire staff the week of Teacher Appreciation Week. So our secretaries, our support staff, our guidance counselors, our administrators, all of those people, we all buy the ingredients, we bring them in, we cook them that morning, and then everybody comes in and eats breakfast. We make them eat together in the restaurant. So, you know, they're hanging out together and bonding and that kind of thing. So that always goes over really well too. So other ideas that I have, when we were at home, I sent everybody postcards, our faculty and our staff and our students as well. I sent every single person in my building a postcard. And I just added my Bitmoji because I thought it was fun to the postcard. So I put like, you know, I appreciate you, we can do this. I always call them my dream team. So, you know, I just sent those things, which were a little, you know, they get it in the mail and they see it. And a lot of my teachers were like, oh my God, you're so awesome. We're so glad you're thinking about us, the kind of thing. So it's just little things that don't cost a lot of money, you know, that really help sometimes. When we were at home, again, we did a Zoom background contest, and this Tiger King background was very popular, so I put it on there. But, you know, it doesn't cost any money. It's just a fun idea. So even if you're doing, I mean, we still do Zoom meetings all the time for everything, right? So even if you're having like a school climate meeting, you could say, all right, today we're going to do a Zoom background contest. So, you know, winner gets a $5 Dunkin' card, or, you know, winner gets bragging rights or whatever, just to make it a little more fun because everybody's sick of Zoom, to be honest. So that's something that you might want to do. The day our teachers came back for the first time from being at home, I decorated their doors, and I couldn't find any of my actual decorated doors, but here's my cart that I wheeled around the school at like 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. I got them prizes. I think they were, I got the mugs or something, I forget, and candy, because I give them candy all the time. And I decorated their doors. We got balloons and all that kind of stuff. So they came back and they were like, oh man, they thought of us. And it was really welcoming. I decorated the whole school, so that was fun. I did have my support staff, people help me. So that was nice of them. I have a candy bar in my office where I have like 20 different kinds of candy, and I let kids and teachers come into my office at any time of day, as long as I'm not on a meeting or doing something super important, and they can just grab a piece of candy and be on their way. This is really helpful if you're an administrator because it trails people into your office. So when they get there, they typically want to talk to you, and they oftentimes tell you what's going on in your building. So it wasn't supposed to start that way. It was really just for me to, you know, say thank you and give back to them. And, you know, every now and then we need chocolate. So, but it really, the kids come in, they tell you what's going on, the teachers do, and I don't ask for it. It just kind of happens. So it does cost me a whole lot of money to do that all year long, but it's worth it, I think, in the long run. Like I said, you can do, you know, gift cards. I do gift cards for my staff every now and then. I buy them things, I get them prizes, just so they know you're thinking about them and appreciating them. And, you know, that makes it worth it, right? All that stress that they're feeling, you know, they get a gift card on a Friday and they're like, oh man, you know, this is good. I have people that care about me, so I'm going to keep working hard, kind of things. And like I said, I buy them lunch here and there sometimes. So those are the things we do. This was one other thing that I just wanted to put in. It's I found self-care challenge bingo card. So I thought this was cute, that you could give out to your faculty and staff to do on their own if you wanted to. You could even give this out to kids. I mean, little kids, anybody could do this. So they're not really difficult things, but it forces you again to be proactive and to, you know, do something. So if you say, all right, in the next month, I'm going to do all these things. So, you know, you have to check off, go to bed early. So one night, maybe you're going to do that. Or, you know, I'm feeling really stressed out, I'm going to go spend my lunch hour outside. Or maybe tonight I'll make something healthy for my kids and my husband. Do something you want just because. So if there's something you want to do that you've been putting off, you know, this is a way to do it. So I can also share that if anybody wants it. You could recreate it, whatever. But I just thought that was something that was interesting that you could give your staff. So what's your next steps? So I gave you all these ideas. I just wanted to give you a couple seconds to think about, and hopefully you've been doing that. You know, what can you do in your school? What can you use from today? What other suggestions? I know people are typing things in the box. What other things are out there that you can do to help your staff kind of take a minute, relax, know that they're appreciated, those kind of things. But your major takeaway for the day is that happy teachers equal happy students. So if your teachers, like somebody said in the chat box before, if your teachers are not happy, if they're miserable, if they're, you know, kind of pouting and you know, mulling around and they're not having a good experience, then your teachers are, or your students aren't having a good experience either. So the more we can do to help our teachers, the more we can do to help our students. And like I said, along the way, a lot of these things you can do for teachers or students. So it's not just one or the other. But we want to make sure our teachers are happy. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable and that they know they're supported, because if not, like I said, you're gonna, you know, you could end up start losing people. You can end up, you know, with people that don't want to be there and just a miserable kind of culture. So we want to try to avoid that at all costs. So hopefully someday in the future, very soon, this COVID stuff will go away and we'll try to get back to normal. I'm not sure how quickly that's going to happen, but definitely hoping that next year is a new start and we can try to move on. And you're still going to have some of these stressors. I mean, those learning gaps are still going to be there.
Okay, I have to talk now.
Okay, I bought the phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. So thank you for coming. I hope it was informative. I hope you got something out of it. I appreciate you being here.